used to think friendships were unbreakable, like the roots of a tree entwined beneath the soil, especially with Emma. We met in high school and stuck together through thick and thin. The late-night study sessions, the sleepovers, the wild plans about how we'd conquer the world together, it was all a beautiful illusion I cherished. We grew up, started our careers, and somehow, through all the madness of adulthood, we stayed close. But lately, something changed. I couldn't put my finger on it. Emma was more distant, guarded, her words laced with a strange sharpness whenever we spoke. I tried brushing it off, thinking she was just busy or stressed, but deep down I knew something was wrong. The betrayal came out of nowhere, or maybe it didn't. Maybe I'd been too naive to see the signs. It was a casual gathering when I found out. I overheard her talking to another friend, laughing about how she'd sabotaged one of my projects at work. She made sure my proposal would be dismissed so hers could shine. I was frozen, my heart cracking as the truth settled in. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I walked away, my mind spinning with questions, hurt, and betrayal. How could someone who once felt like a sister turn into something so vicious? Days went by, and I found myself replaying Emma's words over and over. My chest felt tight, and sleep became a foreign concept. I couldn't comprehend why she'd do something so cruel. Every memory of our friendship was tainted, corrupted by her betrayal. I spent hours staring at old photos, trying to understand how we had gotten here. Was it envy? Was it something I did? The agony of not knowing, of self-doubt and paranoia. I couldn't focus at work, couldn't concentrate on anything but the harsh reality of my so-called friendship. Eventually, the anger replaced the sadness. I was furious, not just with her, but with myself for being so trusting. It felt like I'd lost a piece of myself, the naive part that believed some bonds were unbreakable. I decided to confront her, to demand an explanation. The call was short, cold, and brutal. She didn't even try to deny it. Instead, she justified her actions by claiming it was simply what needed to be done for her to get ahead. The conversation ended with me in tears, shattered by the indifference in her voice. After that call, I felt hollow. The betrayal was worse than anything I'd ever experienced. Work became a painful reminder of everything I had lost. Projects I once enjoyed felt like punishments, and my colleagues' friendly faces only served to deepen my loneliness. I had trusted Emma with everything, my dreams, my fears, my secrets, and now it was all ash. I started avoiding social gatherings, dreading the possibility of running into her. My world had shrunk to the confines of my apartment and the numbing glow of my computer screen. But I couldn't hide forever. Life continued, dragging me along with it. It was during one of those quiet nights, my eyes burning from staring at my laptop, that I realized something. I had given her power over me by letting her betrayal consume me. She had already taken so much from me. I couldn't let her take more. It was time to rebuild, to heal, even if I had to do it alone. I started focusing on my work again, pouring my pain into creativity. And somehow, the process of creating something from nothing helped me find a sliver of peace. Months passed, and I tried to pretend I was fine. But the hurt lingered, lurking beneath the surface like a wound that refused to heal. It wasn't until I started working on a major project that I truly felt the weight of Emma's betrayal. The fear of failure haunted me, her sabotage making me question every step I took. I found myself double-checking everything, terrified that someone else would pull the rug out from under me. Paranoia became a constant companion. Months passed, and I tried to pretend I was fine. But the hurt lingered, lurking beneath the surface like a wound that refused to heal. It wasn't until I started working on a major project that I truly felt the weight of Emma's betrayal. The fear of failure haunted me, her sabotage making me question every step I took. I found myself double-checking everything, terrified that someone else would pull the rug out from under me. Paranoia became a constant companion. But then something changed. I realized that I wasn't doing this for her or anyone else. I was doing it for me. I wanted to prove to myself that I could rise above the pain. Slowly, I began to trust myself again, to trust the people around me. I opened up to new friends, shared my experiences, and found support where I least expected it. It was a long and grueling process, but each day the pain faded a little more. I was healing, bit by bit. Cutting Emma out of my life wasn't as easy as I had hoped. The bitterness clung to me like a second skin, a constant reminder of her betrayal. I tried to focus on my work, to rebuild what she had torn down. But every time I made progress, her words echoed in my mind, eroding my confidence. I felt like I was drowning, my ambitions crumbling under the weight of resentment. Late nights became my new routine, my creativity fueled by anger and pain. I pushed myself harder, determined to prove I didn't need her to succeed, but deep down I knew the truth. I was falling apart. The loneliness was unbearable. Friends tried to reach out, but I kept them at arm's length, afraid of being hurt again. The paranoia grew, seeping into every aspect of my life. I questioned everyone's intentions, assuming betrayal was always just around the corner. It was exhausting, living with that constant fear. And yet, I couldn't seem to let it go. I was trapped in a cycle of distrust and self-doubt, spiraling further away from who I once was. Time continued to pass, indifferent to my suffering. I forced myself to keep moving, burying my emotions under layers of productivity. But no matter how hard I worked, the pain remained. It was like a wound that refused to heal, constantly reopening with every memory of Emma's betrayal. One day, as I stared at my latest project, I realized how much I had let her take from me. Not just my trust, but my joy, my passion, my belief in myself. I had given her power over my life, even after cutting her out of it, and I was done letting her win. Taking a deep breath, I made a choice. It was time to rebuild, not just my career, but myself. I reached out to the friends I had pushed away, apologizing for my distance and explaining what had happened. Some understood, some didn't. But the ones who stayed became my anchor, their support giving me the strength to move forward. I started creating for the joy of it again, not out of spite or desperation. And slowly, the pieces of my shattered heart began to mend. The process of healing wasn't easy. There were days when the anger resurfaced, burning through me like wildfire. I would catch myself thinking of Emma, replaying our final conversation, and the pain would come rushing back. But I refused to let it control me. Instead, I channeled that anger into something productive. I used my experiences to inspire my work, creating pieces that spoke to the struggle of betrayal and the strength it took to overcome it. People noticed the change in my work. Colleagues praised my creativity, their words giving me the encouragement I desperately needed. I started collaborating with new people, building connections that felt genuine and supportive. The paranoia that once ruled my life slowly faded, replaced by a cautious but hopeful optimism. I was learning to trust again, not just in others, but in myself. Months turned into years, and the pain of Emma's betrayal had become a distant memory. I had rebuilt my life from the ground up, stronger and more resilient than ever. My work flourished, my friendships deepened, and I found myself embracing the future with a sense of excitement I hadn't felt in ages. I still thought of Emma from time to time, but the anger was gone. In its place was something close to forgiveness, not for her sake, but for mine. The truth was, Emma's betrayal had taught me something invaluable. It had forced me to confront my insecurities, to acknowledge my own worth beyond anyone else's approval. I no longer needed validation from those who couldn't see my value, and for the first time in a long time, I felt free. Free to pursue my dreams on my own terms, free to let go of the past and embrace whatever the future held. One day I received an unexpected message from Emma. Her words were filled with regret, a clumsy attempt at an apology years too late. She spoke of her own struggles, of realizing the consequences of her actions. But I no longer needed her apology to heal. I had already found closure within myself. I responded with kindness, wishing her well, but making it clear that I had moved on. The pain she caused me no longer held power over my life. The conversation ended with a sense of calm I hadn't expected. It was as if I had finally shed the last remnants of the darkness that once consumed me, and for the first time, I felt whole. Moving forward felt natural, almost effortless. I poured myself into my work, but this time not out of desperation or anger. It was pure passion, driven by a love for what I did and the joy of creating something meaningful. The scars Emma left behind would always be a part of me, but they no longer defined me. They were just a chapter in my story, a story I had reclaimed for myself. Opportunities continued to come my way, and I embraced them with a newfound confidence. My journey wasn't perfect, and I still stumbled from time to time, but I no longer feared failure. I had learned that true strength came from resilience, from the willingness to keep moving forward even when everything seemed lost. And as I looked at the life I had built, I realized I had gained something far more valuable than the approval of others. I had gained myself.